First, I'd like to invite Mr. Agnello Rajesh to come over and take a seat in the podium, please. Agnello Rajesh is a serial entrepreneur. Many consider buildings as just another brick in the wall or just a hollow concrete structure. But what Agnello Rajesh thinks is there is a lot of innovation which can be done. There's a lot of technology which can come into the construction sector, and that is something which he specializes in. He also has this Inspiring Conversations website, which is a platform for successful entrepreneurs to be interviewed, and he spends a lot of time encouraging entrepreneurs to come up with new business ideas. Next on stage, I'd like to invite Ajay Roti. Ajay Roti, if you can come on stage and take a seat, please. Ajay is a partner at Dhruva Advisors, a partner. He was with BMR earlier. He's a tax specialist, so any questions on tax in real estate, Ajay Roti would be the best person to address. Next on stage, I'd like to invite Sajeev Kumar, partner at Dhruva Associates, a leading real estate legal consultant. Without Sajeev's approval, none of the real estate contracts in Chennai go through. So anything to do with RERA, anything to do with contracts in real estate, Sajeev would be the best person to answer. And moderating this session would be Shankar, National Director, Head of Operations, Strategic Consulting, India and Sri Lanka. Over to you, Shankar.
Thanks, Jerry, for the introduction. I think I welcome all of you for this particular evening, and we are going to talk about RERA now. And even some time back when I was interacting with most of you, everybody is talking about RERA. And coming from the real estate industry, wherever we go, all the stakeholders in the real estate industry, they're all talking about RERA. Just 2 weeks back, I met a guy who is from Europe, I think, yeah. And he just a B school passed out guy, and he's accompanying his chairman, going across India, meeting out with investors and developers to understand how the real estate market is performing in India. So after 2 days, he came to me and we had a meeting. And after the formal meeting, informally, he was coming to me and asking me, we had an excellent time last 2 days, and everybody is talking about this particular person, very dynamic person it seems, and this person is going to bring in a lot of developmental activities, in the sense, a lot of changes in the system. So I was asking, okay, is it the Prime Minister you're talking about? He said, no, I think maybe this person is a minister or something like that. Then I asked, who is that minister? And he was saying, okay, few people were really excited to look forward to this person coming on board, and somebody, he said to him that, okay, this is not good and all that. So he was confused, and he was saying that maybe that person is a kind of a lady minister or something like that by the name Clara or Lara. Then I was wondering, what is he talking? Then I realized that he's talking about RERA. So this young chap, all his days, for the last 2 days with this chairman, he's been thinking that RERA is a minister like Modi, who is going to come in and change the entire real estate industry. So that is, so just on a lighter side, just wanted to share this because everywhere we are all chanting about RERA. So what is this RERA? Just to go deep into it, we have a panel of experts, one from a law firm, the other one from an advisory firm, the third one from a developer community. Before going deep into it, I want to just step back and look at this in a different perspective. Already touched by Jerry, so we conduct what you call as the Real Estate Transparency Index. Every 2 years we do this. And last year when we did it in 2016, India's tier 1 market is at about 36. So we compare about 109 markets across globe, and these are the markets where the investors look at and go in and invest. So this transparency is very, very important. But if you look at just about 3 or 4 years back, when we did this in 2012, India was at about 48. When we did it in 2014, India was at about 40. And now we are at 36. This is tier 1 market of India. So this clearly shows for the past 5 years, India has been really doing fantastically well in terms of transparency. So India is becoming more mature, more transparent. So what it all shows, so when we are going to do this in next year, that is in 2018, we are very much sure that we are going to go up the ladder and we are going to go top notches, beating all the countries, all the markets across because of this young lady RERA. So RERA is going to really bring in a lot of transparency, a lot of accountability, and a lot of compliance. So Straight away, I'll go to the panelists. First, let me go to Sajeev. So what do you think about RERA? People been talking about RERA, and they say that it's a game changer. And they also say that, okay, RERA stands on 5 pillars. One is the financial discipline. Second is the transparency. Third is accountability. Fourth is the customer-centric focus initiatives. And fifth is the compliance. So RERA talks about 4-5 aspects which are very, very important. Can you throw some light on how RERA is going to impact the real estate industry as a whole?
Good afternoon, everybody. Like Shankar mentioned, RERA does bring in all the 5 components that he said. It brings in a great amount of transparency into the real estate market. It also brings in a greater amount of financial discipline, primarily on the part of the promoter. It brings in more accountability in the sense that there is greater controls. There's more of checks and balances throughout the lifetime of a project. And it also brings in a certain amount of enforcement, which was earlier lacking in a real estate project. Having said that, the enforcement of RERA, there are so many layers to RERA. If you look at it from the point of view of an allottee, RERA is a beneficial enactment. It was primarily intended to be an enactment for the benefit of the allottees, and it's gone the whole way, and some more. Because if you look at certain aspects of RERA, while information is available to the allottee at a click of a mouse, which the allottee earlier had to run from pillar to post to get, certain aspects like the enforcement provisions, in my view, are being made quite draconian, especially provisions wherein any person can file a complaint. There are certain other aspects wherein the management of a project, there are too many controls on the management of a project. So those are aspects which I think need to be balanced as RERA goes forward. The Act is still at its infancy stage. There are quite a few provisions which, in my view, are going to be challenged in a court at a later point of time, because there is conflict between the enactment per se, between the rules, and between the model forms circulated in RERA. So as lawyers, what we foresee is that while it is a beneficial legislation, our concern is it should not do what Rent Control Act has done to rental laws. Because if you look at the past history, rent control laws were primarily brought in because the entire rental industry was landlord-centric. Landlords had the upper hand in every rental transaction. When I look at Tamil Nadu specifically, you had the Tamil Nadu Building Lease Rent Control Act. It took it the other end of the spectrum. It made it absolutely pro-tenant. Today we are suffering the consequences of that, and courts are doing their best to remedy that. My only wish is that the same thing does not happen to RERA, and RERA is enforced correctly in its letter and spirit. Because as we lawyers see it, there is substantially enough provisions in RERA which, if enforced in a right or wrong manner, can affect or destroy the industry. That, in a nutshell, is.
I think there's a general perception that this is going to bring in the uniform regulatory environment, and a lot of stakeholders are involved in it. And Ajay, you might be interacting with a lot of these stakeholders, not only from the real estate, but generally also. So everybody sure must be talking about this young lady RERA, right? So what is their feedback, and what do they want? And how do they see this as an opportunity going forward? Because we are at a crossroads, right?
Absolutely, and I would agree that everybody is speaking about RERA. I think in all my interactions, whether it is with whichever stakeholder of the developers, the real estate agents, the buyers, I think one keyword is learning. Everybody is sort of learning what RERA is all about. Clearly, I have not seen much of resistance, pushback from the developer community, because most people who are in this for long term and who are wanting to create good world-class space and infrastructure do understand that this is good for the industry. So what's happening is, while there is a lot of stringent norms, rules which apply to the developers after RERA comes in will be looking at a market which is a lot more standardized, which is a lot more organized, which helps them raise finances better. Because a lot of the things that I used to hear a few years back about foreign funds, real estate funds, when they had to commit money into India, there was always a question mark about the credibility of the industry. And transactions in cash, there being no transparency on the price, registered value being different. All of those are things of the past, and RERA is moving the needle further in that direction, which means for the industry, this is a very, very welcome move, is the way I would look at it. It just addresses the relationship between a buyer and a seller. It does not impact the building laws. It does not impact what you can build, what projects you can do. It only, the stated objective is it protects the interests of the buyer. And all builders who are always having that as their cornerstone of their building, not wanting to take shortcuts, will have no problem with RERA. There is definitely no resistance from any of them. Consumers are welcoming this. There's a lot more information that's available. They can take an informed decision. Real estate agents, again, that's one place where I've seen there is a bit of confusion as to who has to register, who should not. The way I personally look at it is, this is a time for consolidation in that sector, because the smaller people who were the so-called fly-by-night, who were not reliable, will get wiped out in no time, because you cannot sell an unregistered project. You cannot market something which does not get delivered. There are penalties for that. So that is one piece that I believe can get addressed, again, for the better. There is this knee-jerk reaction, fear that smaller developers will go out of business, etc., which I don't totally subscribe to. There could be a consolidation of a different form, where smaller builders now work together with larger builders, work with larger builders in terms of doing joint projects and things like that. I don't think there will be any people going out of business and things like that. I've been hearing only positive things in terms of this. The only apprehension that I've heard from the builder community is that project need registration, and they expect and fear that there could be a delay there. And I think if the government addresses that portion, which is to say, if the registrations happen quickly, because today builders cannot raise money, cannot sell apartments, can't do anything without a registration. So their fear is, if I go for a registration and it takes X number of days, months, what happens? So Maharashtra is one classic example where they've come out with the rules. There is a website which is already running. You can upload your application. There's a 30-day window within which, if registration is not given, it's a deemed registration. I'm sure other states will follow. Just taking a step back, the way RERA is enacted is that there is a central legislation which the central government has passed, and there's a lot of powers which are delegated to states, and each state is to come out with its own set of rules. Now, I come from a place where the state government has done absolutely nothing. Karnataka RERA is not in place. There are no draft rules. There are no rules put forth. Uttar Pradesh, Maharashtra, these are states which have gone ahead, implemented, rules are in place, registrations are taking place. The RERA authority has been appointed, because each state has to appoint its own RERA. So the delays on procedural bit is the fear that builders have expressed. Other than that, I don't think there's any fear.
Thanks for that. I think this definitely will bring in more clarity and best practices in the market. Coming to you, Mr. Rajesh, what do you think the developer community is reacting to this? Because I feel, most of the developers were upset. Some of them were telling me that, okay, I'm not going to continue in this business because there are a lot of access over there. So what do you think the developer community is reacting to this particular?
Well, according to me, this is the second innings for the real estate sector in India. And what SEBI did for the stock market is what RERA will do for the real estate sector. The attitude of developers will change now. They were never being regulated in the past. Now they are under control. This will instill a lot of confidence in the buyer community. In fact, there is already a positive move wherein a lot of Indians staying abroad, the NRIs, have started investing back into the country. With RERA coming up, India will be the safest destination for real estate investments. Globally, we see the economical scenario. The economical scenario is not very great. The only place where the whole world looks at land as land of opportunities, it's India because of the population. So population, which was once upon a time considered to be a curse for the country, has become the biggest strength. And with Narendra Modi at the helm of affairs, his vision is fantastic, where he wants to build in 5 crore houses by 2022, which means a few thousand houses need to be delivered every day. A lot of developers will change, a lot of developers will vanish, a lot of developers will get punished because of all the malpractices which happened in the sector. With RERA coming in, with the regulation coming in, the buyer gets protected. I'm sure a protected buyer will increase the market share. For some period, the implementation of RERA will delay the process of development. That might lead to a small time escalation of prices in the products that people want to buy, because there will be short supply because of a lot of builders getting stuck with the registration processes. A state like Maharashtra already implemented RERA on the 1st of May and is one of the first states in the country to go ahead with the implementation of the law. Few developers have registered. There is still a learning process going on. Buyers are also waiting and watching. But the best part is, since the road is going to be clear now for investments, buyer will be more confident to buy and invest. The FD rates in the banks are not very encouraging. The gold prices are very expensive to invest in. So the only best option where a lot of leveraging can happen is the real estate sector. And with RERA happening, a lot of people are investing their future into real estate, because you can get a 90% loan or a 80% loan from a bank, buy a real estate, and definitely, historically, real estate has given appreciation. In the past 2-3 years, it has been slow, but it is the only asset which appreciates vertically, defying every rule, and the bank loan helps you to create your future savings in the form of appreciation. So I think these are some great days to come for the Indian real estate sector, and the whole world will participate in the growth of it.
Yeah, thanks for. So I request the participants to write down your questions and give it to the volunteers over there, and they'll be moving around to collect those chits. So coming back to Ajay, you mentioned that there is going to be delay in registration. So why do you think so?
So, two reasons. One is the whole, it's happening for the first time. States have to come up with rules as to what documents have to be given. And like with any other thing, legislative does one thing, there is an intent, and then the administration or the bureaucracy does another thing. That is one fear, which is how the implementation will be. Number two is this is something that's being implemented from a particular date, and all the past existing projects, not sold ones, ongoing projects, and they've been defined as projects where occupancy certificate or OC is not obtained, also need to obtain a registration. On a go-forward basis, there will only be those which are launched which will seek a registration. But today, initially, there would be a rush, because all the ongoing projects will also seek registration, and we are not sure whether the government is equipped to handle those registrations and that kind of rush. And that's the only fear, and I don't think it's a fear in terms of future projects.
Yeah, got it. So Rajesh, what's happening in tier 2 cities like Coimbatore and Madurai? Even the developers from Mumbai and Chennai are all struggling without any clarity. So what do they feel?
Well, non-clarity zone is going to be there for some time, but I'm sure even Tamil Nadu is in the process of getting its act together, and it will be implementing RERA very, very shortly. Cities like Madurai and Coimbatore are definitely seeing a lot of growth happening, because Chennai might not be very attractive to a lot of audience who cannot afford big ticket size products. So the outskirts of Chennai, Madurai, Coimbatore are markets where a lot of people are investing in. Surprisingly, Tamil Nadu being the second best state in the country as far as development is concerned, especially because of the automobile sector and other allied sectors, a lot of non-Tamilians are also investing in Tamil Nadu. So these are all great signs, and Madurai also is almost like a smart city. Coimbatore is supposed to be one of the best cities to live in India. By India Today, it is rated as the #1 city to live in the country because of, I don't know how many people know this, I'm not from Coimbatore, but the water in Coimbatore, the drinking water in Coimbatore is considered as the second best drinking water in the world. So Coimbatore, with its industrial development, with a lot of spirituality in Coimbatore, wellness centers, hospitality, hospitals, it's definitely a growing city. And Madurai is also developing leaps and bounds, and the real estate is very affordable to be bought in today. very shortly, once RERA gets fully implemented, India will be a country which will be in great demand. A lot of FDI is happening in this country which will going to be spiraling up the prices. So people who buy it today are definitely going to have a windfall in the coming 2 to 5 years time.
Yeah, thanks Rajesh. I think there is a question from the audience to you. So, how do smaller developers prepare themselves to become RERA compliant? Because he says that the industry pursued, okay, it's a threat to smaller developers. So how do they prepare themselves for RERA?
In fact, smaller developers will be more practical and more quick to get into the implementation process of RERA, unlike large developers who have got multiple projects to be registered simultaneously. And as an agency, RERA does not give you unlimited time. Like in Maharashtra, it was implemented on the 1st of May, but you have to register before the 31st of July. And people who don't register, they won't be allowed to sell. And if you sell, in spite of not being registered, it's going to be considered as a criminal offense. So for the first time, you will be seeing in the housing sector, other than being a civil case, it is going to be a criminal case with imprisonment to the defaulting company. So smaller companies are more volatile, more quick, and more adaptable to this kind of RERA implementation. So I don't think so they will have any problem. Large companies definitely will take some time to get absorbed in the situation.
Yeah, thanks. One more question from the audience. This is for Sajeev. So what are the compliances that a realtor is required to do? This is from the agent perspective.
Compliances with regard to what?
Generally, what are the compliances or prescribed by RERA?
As far as the agent is concerned, or as far as
agents?
As far as the agents are concerned, you need to do the real estate agent has to register themselves. If you look at the draft rules set out clearly what are the requirements for registration, what are the forms that will be submitted, the registration is valid for 5 years, what are the fees to be paid. And insofar as the compliances are concerned, an agent is not supposed to register, sell, market, or promote in any manner a project that is not registered. To put in a nutshell, an agent will have to comply with ipso facto the same kind of regulations that are imposed on a promoter. That is, he should not mention anything about the project which is not actually true. He should not indulge in unethical marketing practices. I think so, almost the same.
Yeah, one more to you. What happens to a developer when the project gets stuck for no fault of the developer?
He gets screwed. That's one of the problems with the Act, because the Act only permits delay for what we lawyers call force majeure. Other than force majeure, if the developer delays the project, there is nothing in the Act which protects the developer.
Just, Shankar, from a financial impact perspective, if a project is delayed, what the RERA requires the developer to pay is interest to be compensated at the rate of interest of the EMI of the buyer. It's not a prescribed rate that's there. It's not a cap that's there. That's a very important point and will have an important, a big impact on the developers. The developer is required to compensate the buyer at the rate at which he is borrowed, his EMI rate. That's one part of it. Second, in terms of compliance for a buyer, there are two other aspects which are extremely important. One is any developer who is doing multiple projects, if he collects money in advance, 70% of what is collected has to be kept in a separate bank account and should not be used for other projects. So if there's project A being done and sales are for project A, you can't use that money and launch project B by buying land and whatever else. It has to be kept in a separate bank account, and the state government is giving rules for withdrawal. Maharashtra, for instance, which is at the forefront of all this, has a chartered engineer certificate requirement, certifying cost, a chartered accountant certificate, and based on that, only so much percentage which is expected to be used can be withdrawn from the bank account, and no more and no less from the bank account. These are two things which financially impact the developer, especially where there's a delay or where the larger developers are doing multiple projects and were using cash fungibly.
Yeah, thanks for that. I think lot of questions. I know this is an interesting topic because it's RERA, right? Little lady, new lady. Anyway, so the last questions to Rajesh. So people are asking, I mean, 3-4 questions are similar to some extent. A lot of foreign investments coming in, a lot of people coming to India. They are now confused whether to invest or buy homes now or later. So what is your suggestion, or what do you tell them?
So the smart buyers are not contemplating, they are buying. Because the market is good, market is dull, this is the best time to invest. You might get something at a lower value today and you can exit at a better value when the market further improves. So there is, in real estate, there is no timing. People feel it will go lower. The seller feels tomorrow I'll get a better price. Nothing of that sort happens. Sit across the table, negotiate, strike a deal and pick it up. Real estate is always location specific. So if you need to buy some property in a particular location, you can't see the next day to buy it. Somebody else might buy it. So these are some good times, and people who are on the fence whether to buy it today or tomorrow, they should buy it today, because as the regulation comes in, definitely the prices are going to go vertical. So the decision needs to be a pretty quick one. I would like to add to the previous answer which my colleague gave over here. Apart from 70% getting into the development account and he'll be allowed to withdraw only 30% and all of that, the new rule also suggests that on booking, as soon as you pay 10%, when the buyer pays 10%, he gets a registered agreement, and the stages at which the money needs to be paid to the developer is also being defined by RERA. So you cannot pay more than that percentage. So it again assures security to the buyer. Even the banks, when they disburse loans on behalf of the customers, it will be as per those guidelines. Every stage has a particular specific predefined percentage. So it's going to create a very uniform system of working, which is controlled by RERA exactly in the same way like how SEBI controls the stock market.
Okay, thank you. So I have a lot of questions. So what I'll do is I'll skip this. Probably we can ask these questions to the panelists during the networking session. Before closing this session, I want your remark in a one line.
Presently or the long term? Shankar, was the question presently or for the long term?
Long term, long term.
Long term, I certainly think it will bring a lot of order into real estate. It
Great.
is.
Thanks, Rajesh. You?
RERA will add more glamour to India as a country with foreign money coming in because of RERA.
Glamour, yes. Next, you?
I would sort of sum it up with buyer is the winner, and RERA just definitely protects his interest.
Yeah, definitely RERA is going to bring in a lot of aura to accountability and transparency in real estate India. Thanks for patience listening. I'll ask Jerry to come over for the next section. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Check. If there are more questions, you could send it to girs@news18.com, which is the theme of the event, Global Indian Reality Summit, girs@news18.com.